crafts.
Christine,
Shelley.
It might be raining tonight, isn't it?
Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the June 2nd agenda.
Any conflicts? Did I miss that, or did we change it?
Thank you. Any conflicts of interest to declare at this time?
Not that I'm aware of from you.
I have none. Approval of the June 2nd agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as posted.
I'd like to make a motion that we make a couple corrections to the agenda.
Okay,
First motion is to correct the language from public time to public comment.
I concur with that one. I'd make the motion to change.
I second it. The second motion is to
Vote.
add, vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Aye. The second motion carried.
Yep.
The second motion is to add the Black Hills Wildfire Safety and Prevention update to the agenda.
That was what number?
And that will go under the Board of Trustees. It's just the information.
Okay. I would make that motion, or I'd second your motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. The next motion is to add a discussion or a roundtable, kind of what I'm thinking of is a meeting with the public to begin to talk about the 2026 budget and receive input from the public, and that would go under also committee reports for the board members.
Okay, and for clarification, that's so that we have a public meeting on the budget?
A public meeting on the budget so that the public can participate in the budget and give us feedback.
Okay, I would second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Another motion is to add the drinking water report to the agenda just as information and for public awareness.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion any opposed? Motion carried.
So then I amend my original motion to, make a motion to approve the amended agenda for today's meeting.
I second that emotion. I second that emotion. I second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Alright, the approval of the May 5th meeting minutes. Any changes or discussion on the May 5th meeting minutes?
I didn't notice any discrepancies, so I move to approve the meeting minutes as published.
I second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Committee reports. Finance officer.
Okay, I just have Black Hills Energy ACH for $1264.67. Cheyenne Sanitation check 10450 for $1285.54. Department of Labor for first quarter of 2025, last quarter of 2024. Employee reports check number 10451 for $200. Here's the stuff that goes with that. Fall River Water check number 10452 $253.50. Hawkins check number 10453 for $306.57. Wind Water check number 10454 for $48.97. Ray Hussey May Board $60 check number 10455. Travis Lassiter May Board check number 10456 $60. Christine Wells May Board and some reimbursements for the motor grader parts to Baumgars, $60, and the total check number was $234.31. Baumgars checks for $26.75 and $147.56. Check number 10457. Shelley Harris, check number 10458, salary for May $1,098.97. on that check, I actually stapled it on the back instead of the front.
I concur.
That's okay.
It's good.
That's good.
Christine Wells, May salary, check number 104599235. Steve White, 20.5 hours for May, 10460.302.91. Tammy White, 32.25 hours for May, check number 10461.506.08. Carrie Zolik, 71 hours for May, check number 10462, 1081.88. And, on financials, we were having issues downloading the bank statement at the end of the month, so I do not have the monthly financial for that.
And then, to add to that, we have, delinquency water report and a list of charge-offs, and I will go over the charge-offs. And I failed to mention at the beginning of the meeting, there is a public agenda packet up here, for everyone to review. So, the charge-off list, on the delinquency account, we did have 3 accounts that paid, since this report, and so those will come off.
How far is the input list here? Okay.
Any discussion or questions on that?
Where's the agenda system?
Yes.
No, I'm just
This
talking
is-
about the ones on.
No, it's the whole packet.
Oh, gotcha.
So and then we have, 4 charge-off accounts, with, service address 310 North Second Street. We have continued to send invoices and received a, return to sender notice on these invoices. 407 North Third Street, the same issue, it's, $242.63, same issue, we received a return to sender notice. 304 North Fourth Street, we've been attempting to collect since October of '24. And then 300 North Fourth Street, we've been attempting to collect since March of 2024. And respectively, that's $73.92, and then the last one's $819.20. Where do you want to list the charge-offs?
That one right there?
No, right, the next one, right there.
Oh, this one right here.
Sorry, you ended up
Nope.
with 2 of those, you're
I ended
supposed to
up,
get one.
Gotcha.
So the total charge-off amount that, I am looking for the board to, charge off is $2,007.40.
So you need a motion to do that, is that correct?
Yes.
I would make a motion for those charge-offs for 310 North Second Street, 407 North Third Street, 304 North Fourth Street, and 300 North Fourth Street.
I second that motion, all in favor,
Aye?
opposed, motion carries. There's a success story in these charge-offs in that we had 2, properties, in town. One of them was a lease property, and I was able to reach out to the property owner and collect the back bills for the last 10 months from that property owner. The other property, recently sold within the last 60 days. I was able to reach out to that property owner and begin collecting the user fees for that. So there's a success story, and those would have also been charge-offs on this account as well, so.
Gotcha. Awesome.
Anything else, Shelley? No? Alright. Water and sanitation. Here.
Oh, me?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so we've had a fun month and my water leak is fixed as of about 4 o'clock this afternoon. There between it happened in front of Billy Balfour's house, and it was between the curb stop, which shuts the water off to the house, but on my side, and in between that and her water meter. There was a leak and I was losing a lot of water. So now the pumps should stop running. And then, I did have a question, is the electric bills separate on meters? Do you know which meter runs to that one?
Mm-hmm.
So we
Probably
should
gonna be high this year.
yeah, but now we should be able to notice it going down.
Yep.
So then also during this month, there was a couple of weird power outages, which were not very noticeable, if at all. That took the board, it didn't reset like it should, so by sheer luck, I went up there to fix it 2 times. Anyway, so that put a call into the company that just made that new board, so we need a couple of add-ons, like, I forgot my glasses, wireless communication, a modem to who's ever gonna run the water, gets an alert whether something happened, if the tank is low and it's not resetting, or if anything happens that way. And the other thing was, so when it faults out right now, you have to physically go up there and restart the motor saver because it doesn't have an automatic kick on, so that's also gonna be incorporated in this. I just talked to him today and he said upon a signed acceptance agreement, it would take approximately 1 month. He's got most of all the parts for what's on this paper, and it shouldn't take him very long at all to do.
Carrie,
So, yes.
if you don't mind me asking, so this is the same company that installed that current board that's up there? They're the
Yes.
ones? Okay, so they're the ones
Yes.
that have all the, okay?
They got all the things already. They know all about it, they built it, so, yes. And they left it available to have add-ons put in it when it was designed, so it shouldn't be that much. Any other questions on that?
Yeah,
What you see?
we do have the Verizon hotspot.
That will not work, I asked him, that was
Okay,
the
good.
first thing I asked him. He said that since they are so big with what they do, they're in that emergency response network also,
Yeah,
so their communications are better.
okay.
So that part of using this would be to our advantage to go with their Verizon plan, just because it's way cheaper.
Is there a reoccurring membership or subscription fee that we would have to pay with any of these?
You know, I thought about that, but I failed to ask, so,
Okay.
that'll be something I need to find out.
I mean, if it's necessary, it's just part of the cost of.
Right, but
operating
it
the water
doesn't
board.
say that,
It doesn't, but I was just
so
curious.
I'll definitely ask him.
Is it well, before we make a decision on this, I mean, this is something that I was asking questions about, to another water operator that I'm familiar with. But I'd like us to find out, you know, if there's a subscription, so would he be willing to come to our next meeting to have a conversation so we can ask questions? We might want more options, depending on what they have. I mean, I don't want us to go to a Cadillac version by any means, but, you know, there may be questions that we have to how it's gonna impact, what data it's really gonna give us. I mean, is this only gonna give us the pump is constantly running, the water level, and it's gonna let us know when the system shuts down? Or is there other data that's gonna give us, like it's detecting leaks? I mean, not detecting leaks like the leak finder, but,
Well, the meter that I have up there already will tell me if it's got a leak.
but will this pick up that data with what he's giving us right here? and
That
see that?
doesn't, that meter that would tell me if I had a high leak is not incorporated into that at all.
Into the panel.
2 separate things.
So, if I could ask a question, of Herman. Herman, are you familiar with the SCADA systems at all?
Yes,
And how they operate?
yes.
So, can you help answer, can you answer Travis's question, or somewhat of?
Not without looking at the system, but
Okay, let me see if there's anything.
we have something that's similar to SCADA probably, but I'd have to go up there and look, but that's really what you're talking about, is installing a SCADA system.
Yes,
And it looks like that's what
Yep.
maybe they're doing.
it's gonna let you have remote monitoring is mainly what it is for the whole thing.
So,
Cause otherwise, I'm guessing off of minor power surges as to whether I have to go reset it, or if it quit, or waiting for my bathroom light to blink. I mean, that's crazy, so,
and do you know if it has an up there, an uninterrupted power supply? You don't know?
too much power. I asked them that when they were up there the other day, we cannot have one of those.
But
Okay.
do they have an alternate
Is there
option?
an alternate option?
No, because that would defeat the purpose of the motor saver. That has to have all of its information, whatever it needs, And if anything is missing, it will not run. So it protects the pump. So it can't operate on 2 phases instead of 3. It can't operate on a spike. It won't operate on a low. It likes to be right there.
And with the SCADA system, we can still reset it without having to go up there, or do we still have to go up there to reset it?
In this part, he's put it in there, it's gonna try to reset 3 times before I would have to actually go up and do something with it.
Before we send out a notification that it hasn't reset?
Yes. No, and it'll tell me, it'll tell me anything that goes up there. It'll tell me the tank level, it'll tell me how, whatever I can see on that little screen. Have you ever been up there?
No, I was gonna actually ask if we could go up there either tonight or first thing in the morning. I'd like to go up there and see it.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Any other discussion from the public?
If you like this idea and you don't approve it now, cause you wanna go see that thing later, is there any way you guys are gonna approve it like in a special get together before that? A long time or something?
Well, I've got a meeting already scheduled for Wednesday, and you're welcome to come if you'd like to, but for Rapid Valley Sanitation District. I'm familiar with their water system, and I was gonna go down there and talk to Rusty about ours, and that's why I wanted to look at our system, and I was gonna actually talk to him about SCADA, but now that we have some information about it as well. So I wouldn't mind at least touching base with someone that I know that I've worked with on a water system in Pennington County for the last 4 years, just to kinda ask some other questions to find out what question I might be missing to ask for something like this for our small community.
Sure.
If
Sure,
anyone else
otherwise,
wants to go.
I think Jordan's phone number's on here. So if you did come up with them questions,
Is that his number at the top right, 6636?
I don't know, I don't have my phone, so, it could be their main office. That's in, I would assume that that's in Mitchell. I'll get you his phone, it was on that card I give you. That one was from Jordan,
Okay,
that Dakota pump card.
gotcha. When we were in here the other day,
Uh-huh.
yeah, gotcha.
Yep, that's his number to get a hold of him.
Okay, good. Yeah, if we were gonna act on this, we have to just do a special meeting just to do it. I have a couple more questions. I just wanna see if this is gonna get us what we need, or if there's any other recommendations for somebody who's operated for many years, so.
I'll make a motion that we hold a special meeting to, discuss and potentially implement, or execute this cost estimate,
To be determined,
to be determined.
I'd second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, report on water loss. I'm pretty familiar with that, but you can go ahead and share it.
Hopefully it's gonna be really better.
I hope so too.
That leak was running 26 gallons a minute and the well pump's 32. So, it'll be way better.
Good.
It'll be way better.
Okay, and then the last thing that's kind of been lingering here is that the meter pit stop right here. The other day when I came by, somebody had knocked the metal piece off. You know, the cover,
Yeah,
it was knocked off, so.
I fixed it the other day.
You did?
Well, Sunday, yeah,
Are there-
or whatever day I ran
Is there
it.
some big rocks or bollards or somewhere we can
I need
just
to
play on that?
fix it. It needs to have a riser put on it and I don't have the material. The only thing I have is a broken water meter pit.
Is it
that I
something we
could-
need to purchase?
But I don't know how much they are. Besides expensive, they're very expensive. That piece of pipe is costly. So,
Well,
and
What
if I
about
can,
some
if
of
I
the
can
color?
cut something off the other one and make something halfway, otherwise, I don't know. That big post should be a nice deterrent for
No, it
something
should,
being
but
there.
I don't think it is. Can we
not big
get,
enough.
can I ask Steve to haul a big rock over there for now? To sit in front of it?
Oh, I don't care.
Okay. Steve, would you be willing to do that? Right here?
Oh, in front of this right here?
Yeah, that meter pit that's right here. Alright, awesome.
'Cause I suppose even if I do fix it, somebody's gonna run it over anyway.
I know, right? So, alright.
Yeah, then I think maybe rocks would be a good idea.
And then, let's see, what else for water department, anything else? Not at this time?
Not at this time, I don't think, unless anybody's got any questions for me about anything.
Maintenance plan? Is there any kind of maintenance plan for all that engineering stuff that needs to be replaced?
It's on the agenda.
Oh, it's a separate, okay. Never mind, we'll ask it then.
Alright. Good, roads and streets, grounds and mowing. Got anything? Mm-hmm.
Nothing really new for mowing, a lot of people are mowing their stuff and, I don't know, it's looking good.
Okay.
We need
We're
some
gonna
parts.
need, oil and a filter probably next month. And if we could get another set of blades,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe
For the
a
mower?
double
And
set
an
like
air
what we
filter
did.
also. For the mower and air filter.
And we do have these items budgeted, it's
Right.
just a matter of executing the constraint we have is the town doesn't have a credit card, and I'm setting up the Baumgars account now. We do have an account at Ace, and then just having accounts set up so that these things can be purchased, so,
Gotcha.
maintenance can operate. Last month, what it did is Steve needed hydraulic fluid, so, I took him to purchase that at Baumgars and then requested reimbursement. I don't mind doing the same until we get the account set up. It'll take like 2 weeks, so.
Do we have an account at like CarQuest? or
We don't,
Citizen?
not yet,
Okay.
yeah. I'm working through all of that,
Right.
yeah.
And Steve, if you don't mind me asking, I know you and I talked about some of the supplies that we need for some of the other equipment and stuff. If you've got the, serial numbers or the number of like the air filters, the fuel filters, the oil filters, and all the makes and models of stuff, we'll probably talk about it, getting someone down here from either Jenner or some other company or even out of Hot Springs to come in and take a look at those, trucks and do some maintenance on, see what it's gonna cost to do some maintenance on them. But if I have all those numbers, they can probably give me a pretty close quote.
Yeah, I got the oil filter numbers, but I didn't get air filter numbers or anything like that for any of it.
Yeah, so if you don't mind, if you'll catch all those numbers and give me makes and models, and I can ask those entities if they're willing to come out here and do, do a good maintenance on those vehicles, since they haven't been maintenance in a while, is that correct?
It's probably not gonna make a difference on like the blade or the backhoe, but I do not know what years those are.
Okay. So yeah, then we can ask the question on those particular parts and pieces as well. So if you got a question about those parts and pieces, let me know and I'll reach out to them. That sounds good? Any
Good.
problems with that? Okay.
And do you have an update on the roads or anything to add for the roads?
I give you guys these figures.
We have them.
It took about 4 hours to do the whole town, or blading it, that's counting some of the bad spots. And then, we'll probably have to do that at least, I'd like to do it at least twice a year. Like once this time, like I just did, and then right before winter hitting, and voiding anything in between, we might not have to get out on the road again, but, coming to snow plowing, that's probably gonna be somewhere around 3 hours to do that. I'll only make one pass. I don't know about how you guys feel about how I had written down as far as putting a windrow of snow in front of somebody's driveway, taking the time to move it 10 or 12 foot so they can get out.
I like that actually.
And there's 54 of the driveways basically,
Yeah.
which would probably be another hour's worth of time doing that.
And that makes sense. We shouldn't put snow in front of somebody's driveway and make them shovel it. If we put it there,
I know.
back up and move it out of the way. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate you putting that in there.
Cause we've had to do that ourselves. The other thing I need to know is whether you guys have made a decision on how much snow we get before we go out. Whether it's 3 inches, 4 inches, or what. There's kind of a double edge there. if we wait till 4 inches, depending on the weather and the temperature,
Yep.
people driving over 3 inches, it's gonna pack it down, could get slick. On the other hand, if the weather's warm enough, it could melt off in a day or so. I guess that's an unknown as to what you guys want to do.
Right. I don't know if I have a specific number in mind, maybe we do this a couple, times and just kind of watch the weather and then make a determination on that.
Right at this time, it's kind of an unknown. The other thing with the equipment, I don't know if you found out that whether that guy from Rapid could come down or not.
He can come down, that's why I
Okay.
need a part list.
And then we have are we supposed to have the filters and everything when he gets there?
If we have the part numbers and stuff, he can get them.
Okay. The other thing with the blade, we put 8 gallons of hydraulic fluid in it. And we looked at the loader too. He thought, Jordan is the guy's name over here from Hot Springs. He come and looked at it. He said he could take the loader arm off, which is leaking. If he could get the kit, I don't know if he's got it yet. He was supposed to call me sometime in the afternoon. He thought maybe Tuesday or tomorrow he might be able to come over to work on it. If he does, he can make a trip over here, pull it off, fix it here that day, so the loader wouldn't be down other than that one day. The ram on the blade, it's one of the bigger lift arms, he's gotta take it off and take it to Rapid. He does not have a way of pulling that big ram apart. And he takes bigger rams like that to a place in Rapid, north of the interstate. I forget what name he called it, but he said that could probably take 2 to 3 weeks to get that back out and running again. So, the blade right now isn't anything that I think we even need out and about, so, I guess it's up to you guys whether to give him the okay to, I think, Christine would stop by when we talked about it, and she pretty much told him, yeah, let's do it.
I'm okay with that.
The cost, he just kind of rough guessed on the cost on the big ram on the blade. On the high side, he said it could probably be 1,500, maybe 18, but he didn't think they were gonna have to replace the inside ram, which would lower the cost. The ram on the backhoe, he thought, if I remember right, I think he said about 400 or 500. I'm kind of sketchy on that one yet. He was gonna do it here. So, other than that, that's about all I got to report it on.
And we do have maintenance and repair of the
Yeah,
equipment
budget.
budgeted, so.
I'm good.
We are gonna need more hydraulic, right, because the blade isn't even on the end of the stick yet. I don't know how big a tank that is, but
How much would you guess?
I would guess that it could be as much as 12 gallons.
Okay, and then how much fuel's in it?
If the gauge works, I didn't stick it with a stick, but it shows about probably 5/8 of a tank, which should go all summer, no more than we'd probably be using it.
Okay.
The backhoe shows, I think, about 1/4 of a tank, and that's probably gonna be used more. And I don't know how, if we're gonna 5-gallon buckets or how we're gonna get fuel for it, but,
It's just standard diesel?
yeah.
Okay. We can talk about picking that stuff up if you want.
The dump truck, I don't remember seeing what the gas gauge, fuel gauge said on it.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
Anything else? Road and streets?
Oh, by the way, I wanna say thank you for putting it together for us so we can have a pretty good idea of what we're looking at. And of course, thanks for the work you did on the roads. They look really good. So thank you very much, Steve,
You're
appreciate it.
And, when Steve does the roads, we had a conversation over the weekend, Steve and I did, and, he may need like a helper to drive the dump truck or to haul some gravel. It'd be handy if he had something like that. So if anyone's interested in helping out with that, would be
I'll volunteer.
fantastic. Okay,
He needs help.
alright.
Steve's doing a fine job.
And we do
Thanks,
definitely
Greg.
have that thin spot up by your place or across from your piece on that corner.
What's that?
There's a thin stretch on the road across from Wyatt's place,
Yeah, I seen that.
so.
Needs a little gravel down there.
Yeah,
Okay,
that might be one spot.
thanks, Greg.
Sure.
Alright, building maintenance. We still have broken glass at Woodman Hall. I don't think we have anyone for building maintenance. I know that was submitted to the insurance. Haven't heard anything back on that. And then we had the backup generator, scheduled to be, looked at, but the guy was a no-show, so,
Really?
yeah. Alright, animal control. Margaret,
Nothing to report.
nothing to
No
report.
doggies, nobody owns.
Dogs are good.
Community Center
They're behaving.
Committee, Ray is not here, so. Okay, park
On
committee.
them, I did,
Excuse me.
I made that deposit for them, I made a cash deposit, I think it was like $400 last week,
Mhm.
so they're getting closer to getting all their windows.
Oh, John, are you here to represent the Community Center Committee? No? Okay,
No idea what's going on.
alright. That's probably best. Ignorance is bliss, is what I've heard. The community, do you know when the breakfast is? The
I
next
do not.
breakfast, okay.
I think it's next Saturday.
Is it next Saturday?
That I know.
Alright, good, thank you. Alright, park committee.
Not much to report, still working on a possible family to take the park stuff that's there right now. And then, as everybody probably knows, well, some have noticed, that the power company actually went ahead and, for pro bono, so for free, they moved that power line for us, so that's something we don't even have to worry about going forward, so. Yay.
I
Saved
have a-
us a couple $1,000s.
I have a letter here from the town of Buffalo Gap to, thanking the Black Hills Energy for installing that, so, before you leave, if you don't mind signing.
Sure, yep. And then one other thing, Len is working on a box for the library. Kathy has gotten it registered. I guess there's a national registry, which is
Yep.
pretty cool. Little library. I went and picked up some books at the library, so we're getting ready to go, so
Alright.
Should be done in about a week.
sweet.
Just need to know where we're gonna put it.
Yep, sounds good.
That's it?
The Woodman
Good,
Hall.
thank you. Alright, Board of Trustees. So, I have a mail call for Board of Trustees, and I've received several emails and texts saying the roads looked great. They were great, they were thankful, that, everyone said, whoever did the road maintenance looks great. So thanks, Steve, again. Lots of people coming to me to let me know they are thankful for that. And then the finance officer vacancy closed. We do have I've received 2 resumes. Interviews will be taking place this Friday for those 2 folks. And then we have a notice of meeting events where more than one board member will be in attendance of either a meeting or a training session. So on Wednesday of this week, Travis and I will both be with Rapid Valley Water,
That'll be up in Rapid City.
in Rapid City, yeah.
Yeah.
Then, on this Friday, there will be interviews for the finance officer position, which involves all 3 trustees. And then there will be budget training and the following week or the week after that in Rapid City, which 2 trustees will attend that.
And we'll just have to add our special meeting
Yeah,
once we do it.
when we get another date.
Yep.
So. And then, I attended Black Hills, wildfire safety and prevention, meeting, so on May 16th at Custer County Library, the Black Hills Energy invited all town governments that in Black Hills and the surrounding areas and the emergency management teams from those same areas to begin the discussions of a mitigation plan to basically how they're going to operate if there was a wildfire or high winds or natural disaster. So they're in the development phase of this. There's no plan. Right now, there's no documents. They're taking input from all the communities. And then as a community for Buffalo Gap, it impacts us because we will have to create a supplemental plan to go with theirs. So how do we take care of our community in the event that something happens? So we're in that high risk fire area, and so we are definitely included in their mitigation plan. So there's more to follow. This is right now they're just in general discussions on what it's going to take, what it's going to look like, who's going to be impacted. So there's nothing really to report now other than they're still in the planning phase, and we are impacted, so we'll have to participate. And then, any questions on any of that so far? And then there's going to be a discussion session, so will not be for any type of vote or approval of any items, to receive public input on the 2026 budget. That will happen to be determined. I'll schedule a date for that. So I just want to put that out there that before we develop that budget, we are going to seek public input. And then lastly, the drinking water report is here. It will be posted. It will also come in your water bill. So be on the lookout for the drinking water report. All right. Moving on to old business. This thing just keeps showing up. Proposal to open First Cedar and Poplar Streets. So, I'm gonna make a motion that we have an engineering survey done of that area. And the engineering survey would be First Street, Cedar, and Poplar. So it'll be all of First, Cedar, and Poplar.
All of First up until East Main,
To East Main from
Right.
First, yep.
and then the platted First, to, Second Street along Cedar, and the platted First from First to, Second along Poplar.
Correct.
Okay, yep, I would make that motion.
So I made the motion.
Oh, I second that motion,
Thank you.
sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next motion that I would like to make is that we initiate a utility survey of the same, said locations.
And I would second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Would you like any public comment or discussion on this
Yes.
at all?
They're gonna get
Yes, I would.
a survey for them streets over there, and they wanna do a survey of utilities over in that.
So there's a discussion time open for public comments.
First, Apple and Cedar and whatever that other one is.
No one's interested in making a comment, okay?
All right, the next item is, the update and organize of all town ordinances. So last meeting, this became old business. The town ordinances, as far as I could tell, are in these two books. They will be, housed in the finance officer's office, so anyone that is looking to review those are welcome. The public has complete access to those. After consolidating those, now what will happen is we will begin to review and identify ordinances or resolutions that need to be updated going forward. So that's the next step in this process. So step one is complete. And I found those ones that we signed there, Kim. Alright, new business. Water construction phase 2, Helms project manager Brandon Smith. Is Smith?
Smith, yep.
Alright,
So last year, we were able to complete phase 1. This year, we were notified that you guys would like to continue replacing the cast iron pipe that's in town. There's still some of it left. Phase 2 will take care of the majority of it. There are still a few extra blocks. The application went into the Department of Ag and Natural Resources, and you guys were awarded a pretty good grant loan package, I would say. I think it was 74.5%, if I remember off the top of my head.
Roughly.
So almost a 75% grant on the project, which is fantastic. Essentially, for every dollar that you're spending, 75% of it's not being charged to the town. So you're only having to pay a quarter of it. With that being said, the cast iron pipe that we had identified as in phase 2 would be on Walnut from 4th into 2nd, and then down 2nd from Walnut, just past Cedar. So those are the streets that it essentially would be impacting. I've got a couple maps up here as well for you. Trevor is also here from Black Hills Council of Governments. They're the ones that kind of handle all the financing and all the money side of it. We just kind of handle the construction side of it. So that would include coming out and getting a survey of those streets, putting together all the bid documents that are required, actually sending that out for bids for contractors to bid on the contracts, and then executing those contracts with the contractor through the construction phase of the project. So basically kind of a start to finish. Do you have any questions for me?
I do. Does it
Yep.
come out of the tank? Are you replacing this stuff out of the tank to 4th Street?
No, essentially it starts at 4th Street. Phase 2 is just starting at 4th Street and going east.
Is the tank cast iron? What comes out of the tank, is that cast iron?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
so
That's why I
that
said this
is-
will replace a large majority of it, but is not all of it.
Right, was there any plan ever to do that or no?
Yeah, so when we talked last year about this was kind of the phase 2, and that was essentially kind of the phase 3 portion of it.
So what areas still will have cast iron after this is done? That way we have at least an understanding, because we were, at least I thought it was gonna replace all the leftover cast iron.
So the remaining part would be on Walnut Street from 4th Street west, all the way out to the tank. There's also a section on Main Street, east of 2nd Street, and I believe there's one more yep, right here. On Cedar, west of 2nd Street, and then up 3rd Street. And like I said, those are on here.
Cedar and
So-
up Third.
Yep. So there are a few extra little chunks. This would take care of the major chunk that's actually in town though.
So, and I know that you're not, you know, in charge of how we phase this out, but, there will be a phase 3 of this project at some point.
When we talked originally, like I said, this was probably 2 years ago, yes. I mean, that
Okay.
was kind of the thought process is we would take whatever we could, whatever the state would allow, for that, which is why we've had to phase this. Originally, we tried to get it all as one project. The state basically said, no, that's too big of a project, to come at us with one time. So that's why they made us break it down into phases.
Okay.
So essentially, that'll be left over, and that'll be left over.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Any comments or questions from the public?
So
Go ahead, Chris.
I just wanted so.
Couldn't understand the Walnut, you're going from Walnut to the tank,
Nope, so
From
Walnut,
4th down.
from 4th to the west. He said east,
Yeah, to the east.
North to east.
Yeah.
to,
What he
the
said he
whole-
was-
all of Walnut,
Right.
so right in front of my house.
Yes.
Chris, do you have something?
So,
He's pretty
is everything gonna be
Yes, it is.
replaced with poly
Mhm.
until phase 3 is gonna be where it connects to the tank to, where it hits everything then?
so phase 3 would be basically the rest of this stuff on Walnut. And then there's only a couple extra little blocks here. Way over here.
And that line gets replaced too for the tank to where it's,
So not currently though.
Well, so
we'll get the in-town stuff done. So in front of your place, up to my place. And that's where we have our problems. is the cast iron.
They're not going out.
Any other questions? Steve?
Do we have, you're talking about a rock out here, do we have an extra rock laying around?
I'm sure we can find one.
There's a bunch of them in the tree though.
Thanks.
Yeah, they used to be on that corner there, so people
Oh,
didn't
that's
turn.
Where they at now?
Okay, so,
Tree down.
any other questions for Brandon? Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you very much.
Alright, set, the town attorney, so this was something that we moved to this meeting. So I'm gonna make a motion that we, set our town attorney as Jacob A. Stewart, that's right, it's cut off on this. From Rapid City, I have it right here in front of me, I don't
Yeah,
remember.
and Gunderson Palmer,
In Gunderson Palmer.
I would second that motion.
Discussion?
No, I liked his proposal based on the current, format that we have. Most of his stuff is all wrapped up into one fee. It, being part of GPNA also, you know, depending on our insurances, allows us to be part of that risk pool and all that kind of stuff, so they'll help out with a lot of stuff on that aspect, so, from my perspective, I see no reason not to move forward with them.
I have a
Any
question.
discussion from the public?
Yeah, so when you guys decided on the attorney, was there like bids or something sent out to other, like, you know what I'm saying? Who
They've all
was it?
submitted letters.
They all
They
submitted
all
letters,
submitted
okay,
Yep.
okay.
Any other discussion?
Just
When
wondering.
Lance retired, what happened to him?
No, we have a new board and, we get to establish the attorney going forward, so, as far as I know, he's still in Fall River.
Yeah, he's still involved.
Who was the other attorney you interviewed?
Oh, I
Said you got
didn't,
two letters.
What's-
Said you got two letters, two different attorneys?
No, I got 2 resumes from finance officers, I don't have.
What we're talking about is Lance gave us his documents, I think that's what he's
Oh,
asking.
yes,
Lance gave us
Lance
his,
gave us,
his stuff, and then we received from Jacob as well.
yeah. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah, that's what I thought I heard him asking, so.
Yes. Alright. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Alright, next item is resolution 2025-5, it's a supplemental appropriation, for, our budget ordinance of 2025. So, we incurred costs during phase 1 that we paid for out of our general fund. We were able to identify those costs, and working with the auditor, he's given guidance that says you can move that money from the phase 1 project money that you have to pay yourself back. And so this resolution does that, and also what that does is it will cover the $9,000 that we are over budget for this year. So the cost incurred, for phase 1 were upfront costs for Helms. There was a $23,000 engineering, and I can only see from the minutes, it was an engineering, probably survey or something like that. And then there was some odds and ends, like there was a $9,000 cost, and so those were things we paid out of our general fund. And so this resolution will move that money, those costs, back to the general fund. So I'll read the resolution, 2025-5 supplemental appropriation. Whereas the Board of Trustees for Town of Buffalo Gap, County of Custer, South Dakota resolves to supplementally appropriate funds to meet the obligations of the municipality for the period commencing June 2nd, 2025. And whereas that following sum for supplemental appropriated to meet the obligations of the municipality. General Fund, 432.3 3 sanitation 499.0 sales tax remittance of $9,000. We're transferring that into. Then we're putting 4250 into contingency 4155. And then the remaining balance will just go back into surplus for 39101 for a transfer in of $21,348.66. The transfer out will be from the Water Improvement Fund, $34,598.66. Now therefore be it resolved that the movement of funds are hereby approved this second day of June 2025. I make a motion that we approve the resolution 2025-5 supplemental appropriations.
I second that motion.
Any discussion? Discussion from the public.
Well, where was the money before you moved it?
It's sitting in the, Water Improvement Fund, so we were directed by the resolution during phase one, or the town was, I shouldn't say we, the town was, to create a separate fund to track all that money being received into the town.
Sure, yep.
So this phase one construction's done, and so that money is just sitting there, and so this will just cover what those upfront costs were.
Okay.
From the town's original general fund.
General fund, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like we got extra money, it's all in the same checking account, it's
Sure.
just formally putting it on a piece of paper saying from one to another. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next item we have is a public hearing for opt-out meter customers. The public hearing will be on June 17th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the Old Bank Building. So the public hearing is to begin prepping us for phase 2 construction. We have some opt-out meters on phase 2 construction, and what we need to know is if they continue to opt out, then we will bypass those meters because they're old meters and they are giving us some maintenance headaches. Especially with leaks, and Carrie can't really determine if there's a leak there because they're old meters, they're not digital. And so they can either opt out completely and they'll bypass those meters, maybe they don't need that water service, or they opt back in, we upgrade their meter to a new meter and they get connected to phase 2. We do have a bond to repay. Our surcharge fees are gonna be $17 a month per customer, so we're just trying to share the wealth so that we can get that bond repaid. And if you're gonna connect to the system for water service, whether you're a user or non-user, then you're part of the debt that we're going to owe. So that's what that public hearing notice is for. Yes?
How do you get the people that opted out of phase 1 that chose, that did not have this?
Yeah. So, yeah, and I've thought about that, and because phase 1 has been complete and kind of behind us, I don't know how we revisit that. And so,
Well, you're gonna have a bunch of mad people, that ain't gonna work.
I know.
So,
And that's the reason for the public hearing, so this is not a decision tonight to say
Right.
we're,
Correct.
right, but it's a public hearing time to hear that input from those individuals who did opt out and consider, all the feedback. So that's the purpose of this.
but I just think you should make sure that you include somewhere that part that's already done, cause there's meters out there.
Okay, and this public hearing does not limit to phase 2 only, it says opt-out meters, so I did not
Okay.
put that limitation in there, so anyone's welcome to attend.
Yeah. It doesn't mean we can't consider those as well
That's
moving
right.
forward.
So I make a motion that we hold a public hearing on June 17th, 2025 for, the opt-out meter service.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next item we have under new business is, procedures for notifying customers of shutting off water. So, we don't have to have a decision here, but when we have a necessity to shut off water, we need to start thinking about how do we let folks know to kind of settle the natives, guess so to speak, or the chaos of having water shut off. So, I'm talking to Carrie today, I'm offering that folks can call me if they feel like they don't have water service or their water's shut off for some reason, and then I can relay that message, but there's been some.
Well, I was gonna say, if we know we're gonna have to shut off some valves, there should be a way that we can do some kind of notice, and I don't know what the best way is, cause not everybody here is on the computer. Not everyone here has a smartphone for texting. Not everyone has the same way of getting the information. You know, I've worked in areas where, you know, they can send out a public notice via smartphone, but the people who don't have it, they don't get notified. But I've never had, in the last several years, when we shut off water, anybody go knock on doors saying we're gonna shut off water in an emergency. I do know I've seen people go and put, you know, paper, we're shutting off the water tomorrow because we're, you know, doing something. But for an emergency, you know, I'm open to suggestions as well. How do we get that notice to the public? Because, you know, whenever you're in the shower and all of a sudden your water goes out and it's because we turned it off as a town, that's not necessarily very fun. It's one thing if the line breaks and you don't have water, I think, you know, that you kinda have to understand. But understanding that we just shut the water off without any kind of notification, that's kind of a challenge sometimes. But I'm open to suggestions for a small community.
Yep.
There's a lot of people in the audience.
Yeah, there is. I'm waiting for something to do here. I don't know. I don't got nothing else.
Sound the
And there's-
siren.
What's that?
Sound the siren?
Sound the siren, like the tornado siren,
Note on the door.
the note on the door.
Who's gonna run them notes?
Yeah, an emergency, that's when, yeah.
It seems like it gets around pretty quick within the first 15 minutes with some of that water. Everybody pretty much knows what they call up. They call somebody up, you got water, I don't want water, but.
Okay, so that right there got my ass chewed in the middle of the street. I do not like that. Do you got water? Do you got water? They're not on the same line. So I can have water and you might not have water. No, that's gotta have a different idea. Sorry. Sorry.
Well, Carrie, that might be a way to do it. However, the town also needs to think about this. If you see Carrie out there, don't go chew her butt. Be like, hey, Carrie, what's going on? I don't have any water in my house. And, you know, John Doe over here has water at their house. You know, something going on. Rather than coming out and just start chewing somebody's tail. Because you were out there trying to figure it out at that moment.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and I was not appreciative at all.
Right. The public should be treating individuals with respect, at least to say, hey, what's going on, not, nah. And I don't know what the situation is, but that's just in general. I mean, that's just human
Right.
decency, in my
Because
opinion.
the same day, I also got followed, going up to the water tank by another person of this town, ignoring me and yelling at the guy I was with about what should he do about his dirty water. Cause he sat there and watched us work across from his house all day long, but then chases me up the hill and ignores me because, oh my God, because White's got a shirt on that says where he works. So he knows that he's not from here. He knows he's from somewhere else. So then when I tell him what I think he should do to save his reverse osmosis and hot water tank, he tells me that's gonna cost him money by dumping his water on the ground. Cause I asked him if he had an outside hydrant, which would be the quickest way to get that away from your house.
Right.
So then he told me that just cost him money. So I don't have an answer for stupidity either. Swear to God.
So,
I got another one. I got another one because now when I read the meters every Sunday, pretty much every Sunday, for the benefit of the people that live in this town. So when I text you that you have a high water leak for like over a month, I would appreciate a response. So yeah, I got it. Yeah, I'll look at it. Anything. I had to go to somebody else to have you address your water leak. I met your husband on the road the other day and asked him if he found it. He said yes. How come nobody told me? Would it have been that hard to say, hey, yeah, we found it?
Half the time I don't respond to him, so it's.
Okay, so what is that? You know that I
Because
run
don't
water.
have the ringer on.
I don't care.
here. You haven't went for a month without looking at your text. Why is Carrie texting me all this shit? No, no. And you know I go up there past your house all the time, so you could walk out the door and say anything to me, but you don't hear you.
Okay, so.
Okay, we're not getting nowhere.
It sounds like this, we're gonna carry this into, old business to come up with a solution for this, so, you have
I got
something?
one more, can I have one more?
Are you
Hold
gonna
on.
tell us a generic situation or
Yeah.
a person? Cause if it's a generic situation, maybe, but if you're gonna point to another
I
person in here,
do
probably not. I
believe
just-
that
sorry.
if
That's okay.
you are gonna represent yourself as a town employee, that somebody should know that you're doing that. So my construction guy showed up the other day and talked to somebody who said he was an employee of the town. But nobody notified me. And as of our conversation this morning, nobody notified you guys either. So how was I supposed to know he came? So who talked to him? And why wasn't anybody else notified?
Good question.
So we definitely have a need for communication.
Yes. We'll have to discuss that, especially whenever someone's having that conversation, and we'll have to figure out either a policy or whatnot to make it appropriate so the town understands who to contact whenever they're dealing with a water situation or a road situation, so that, they're contacting the right person.
It might have just all been a big miscommunication, because I ended up
Could've been.
calling the company to find out about it later in the afternoon, and this guy said, well, I told him this, and he said this, and I didn't, so I found out about it the hard way.
So, I'm gonna make, any other discussion?
I think that, okay, so for, most people have social media or what, internet or whatever, but we do have some elderly in the town that do not. So I think as a courtesy to them, yes, we do need to knock on doors and let them know.
Just out of, if you don't mind me asking a question.
Carrie, I would help with that also.
Everybody here see the Buffalo Gap page? I mean,
No.
I don't pay attention much to Facebook either, but I just wanna know, is that even a worthy
For some, yeah.
for some? Yeah, see, there's
Again,
no one
everything you
particular.
suggest is just for some.
Right,
There isn't anything for everybody.
right. See, that's gonna be the, yeah, that's the problem, okay,
And the Facebook page is not an official
right.
town page, so there's some things that we would have to comply with if we did make that an official
Correct.
town page, so.
Well, either a phone call or a knock on the door.
Then that's gonna require everybody to give up a current phone number.
I wouldn't have a problem with that. Who would have a problem with that? If they do, then they're saying, I don't wanna be notified.
That's an option, that's fair.
Because if it's for official business, then it's not going to, your phone number's not gonna be spread around to anybody else.
Right, only the water operator would have it, and if Carrie knows that she's gonna shut off a valve from point A to point B, she knows it's gonna impact those individuals, make that phone call.
Well, and that's easy, because that would be a planned deal.
Yeah.
So if you all are talking about like what happened last week, that was a mission. That was not planned, that was not anything.
Right.
And we tried to limit the amount of time that people didn't have any water to a very short amount of time.
Right.
I think that's our ultimate goal though, is to make sure people do have water,
Yes.
so,
In a timely manner, and if we have a break, we have to fix it, and that does
Right.
turn,
it turns it off, so.
it does.
So I'm gonna make a motion that we move this into, or that we bring this, into old business, and then this is something that we continue to work on as a communications plan. That we develop a communications plan, and we can't get rid of all the risk, but we can definitely mitigate some of it.
Yep, I concur. I don't think we need a motion for that, it's just on the.
Alright, okay, good.
Okay,
Thank you. Alright, waterworks maintenance list, so we've had
oh, yes.
several inspections, surveys, whatever the state wants to call them. We've had lots of help from outsiders to tell us what our deficiencies are in water. And so, we have a list of deficiencies here that we would like to begin to get after. So we are mandated by DANR to provide a response back by June 22nd, and that would be, I have to sign the response. We have three top deficiencies right now that we are on the hook to do something about, or get a plan in place to do something about. And so right, tell me if I'm doing this right, I'm looking for someone to help out with the deficiencies, and then I would like to move forward to begin to work the deficiencies.
Which are the top three, cause I see a
The-
couple extra ones.
They're the priority,
All the priority
The
ones?
concrete tank lid and the 24 gauge mesh.
yep, you're right.
I mean, we have water
Yeah.
repair and maintenance budget, right?
We do, we have water repair and maintenance budget, that's right, but the top three I can look and see, cause I know what they are right off this list. Alright, the first one, it has to do with our sample site plan, and that's just to clear up any confusion, that we think there's some confusion with that, that's something Carrie can handle, it's not a big deal. So that's one of our top deficiencies. Our second deficiency is we have some concrete walls that are cracking and failing around the lid of the ground tank. So they've given that to us as like a severe deficiency, so there's a potential for contamination. And then the other contingency is the vent on the ground still tank is being damaged, and then there's an improper screen size, it's supposed to be number 24 corrosion resistant or something like that. So these are the top three that we need to undertake and then begin to, work down. And we may not have enough budgeted for these, right? So it's a matter of
Well,
knowing what we can get to.
right, that's why I was asking how much our budget is in that repair area, because we could probably at least, at a minimum, have Carrie reach out to the individuals that could do those two big repairs, because the site plan is Carrie figuring out the site plan and submitting it.
I've already
correct?
done that.
Okay, so
I
yeah,
sent the rest.
that's already been done.
Yeah.
So then the other two is getting qualified individuals who can do those two repairs and getting the quote from a couple of entities, and then, potentially even approving that. If we got those quotes fast enough and it fits within our current budget, we might be able to approve that along with the SCADA issue.
So between maintenance and repair and supplies and materials, we've budgeted $17,000 for 2025.
Okay, and we haven't used, or have we used, how much have we used?
We've used 2,932, about 3,600 of that in total.
Okay, I mean, it seems reasonable that we at least get a couple of quotes, and then potentially even hear those at our SCADA meeting for making a determination on that, and potentially get that moving pretty darn quick. Is that feasible?
Or if we need assistance with these, to get someone to call to make the.
Wyatt
quotes.
won't be back in town until next week. He's gone this week.
Okay.
So,
Is he the only one that we can rely on for that?
he's cheap. Yeah.
Well,
I don't need.
I mean, that's fine, but anyone else in his office, or is it just him?
No, he's just him.
Oh, okay,
He's just him.
there you go,
He's the guy that takes care of this part of the state.
okay.
Okay.
So if he's back next week, you can touch base with him and get quotes on getting those fixed?
Yeah, he's gonna be here one day next week to do water samples, so. I've already talked to him about it and stuff. We have to be able to pick up the lid to even figure out what, because she couldn't pick up the lid, so she doesn't really know what's happening. So, we have to take the lid off in order to see if there's, what's going on. And that's more than that's probably, I'm gonna need somebody else to help me get that off,
That's right, and
besides him, too.
when they did the dive inspection on the in-ground tank, they did provide a picture of what's under the lid.
Oh, they did, okay.
Yeah,
And
but in
can you
that
tell what
report-
it is?
Yeah, it's a big piece of missing chunk of concrete.
That's just on the corner.
There's a side, a whole chunk is missing right out of the side.
Yeah, out of the corner, right next to the steel brace, that's right there, there's a chunk of concrete missing.
from this picture is all I can see on that.
And that's just from that picture, so that was from the dive report that Aaron had. Or that you gave both of us.
Yep, I will get up there next week,
Okay.
and then I will have some answers for you. Hopefully by the time you wanna have this meeting about this other thing, so.
Alright, great. So because this is a budgeted item, it's just a matter of business as usual.
Yeah, business as usual. The only reason why we'd have to give any approval is if it's above our current budget.
I suspect that we could get that. Alright. So moving on, last item of news business is to discuss the Wing Cross Conservancy use of town acreage. So, I'm so glad you're here, Brandon, before we move into this. For phase one, are you going to need access up to the tank? I mean, for phase two, up to the tank at all? No, okay. We do have some challenges with access to the pump house with the horses. So we may have to we need to come up with a solution for that.
Matthew and Wyatt had talked earlier about pushing back a fence line that alleviated, and so we put road access in there and put the road back. So there was just no gate or anything there, and just moved everything back.
So then
it's
the
just,
road would be open, is that?
yeah, that it's just all
essentially, so
open.
we would have access through.
So we would continue to keep all the brush and all of that stuff back, but just basically strip everything and leave it back.
Okay.
If that is, what's that?
And then from past, and there's a couple things that happened with this topic, then from past meetings, there was lots of discussion about the lease.
And we had talked about, looking at, purchasing it, but at this point, it's not something family-wise, we're looking at for, until probably the end of the year. We've got some I've had some health issues going on, so I'm not really willing to revisit that until probably after September, October.
But I think unless you have a different copy, the lease that I see is been
It's gone.
expired. Okay.
No, it's been gone, and we hadn't revisited that, and I know that, Lance had wanted to go much higher, and I'm like, I'm not willing to go higher than that, because the insurance I pay is way, I pay $8,000 a year between property, ranch insurance, and the house, just to keep it insured. For liability and that, and I'm not going to pay $100 a head to lease it for a year, for 2 acres, which essentially.
Is that the amount of acreage?
Yeah,
that
it's
you
about
use?
2 acres of ground up there.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a lot of ground. And, we keep the fence up and the vermin down. And up until, the fences, were taken and we had the new meter pit, we kept the alley and everything mowed. So there was no, we've had no rattlesnakes, no skunks, raccoons, and assorted other trivia.
Okay.
So, and the only reason that, we had originally fenced off or even closed off the bottom is that we wanna make sure that if we get a loose horse, our horses stay where they belong.
Yeah. We appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't need a stallion going around and going, woohoo, party in town.
Usually doesn't turn out well.
No, especially in quarter horse country, cause we could have some really interesting babies.
Yes.
They'd have great manes and tails, however.
So if you don't mind me interjecting, Carrie, and I don't know if it works out for you, if I go up there and look at the water,
Sure.
can I get an idea too, or do we wanna do that tonight? Did it just get a whole bunch of muddy with all that rain I saw out there, or is it something to maybe
No,
do
we can
tomorrow
go
night
up there now, it's not too bad.
after the meeting?
Sure,
It's not
as long as
bad.
you go, yeah.
I mean, that way I can kinda see what you're talking about as well.
We can go out, and Wyatt's up there, so, I can call him out, and you can actually get to visit with him.
Okay.
a little easier to visualize.
So let's just continue this as discussion.
Okay.
Um,
I move to continue this item till the next meeting.
Second your motion. Any other public discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Alright, public comments. This is time for citizens to discuss issues or concerns for the town of Buffalo Gap directly to the Board of Trustees. The amount of time for discussion or presentations can be limited by the president of the board. Individuals shall refrain from discussing personalities. No action will be taken by the Board of Trustees without first being placed on a future agenda. So, anyone have any public comments? Terry?
The blowout is the 11th and 12th this year,
Okay.
and I've always taken care of getting the streets closed. You gotta go through the county and all this stuff, and they just gotta call the county guy, and they do not come and close the streets. They let you use the signs and stuff out there.
Okay.
Then, like always, I'll furnish all the porta potties that I have for the last 5-6 years
Okay.
and stuff like this, but the town has always helped a little bit, and the town needs help, the blowout needs help, because we're on a budget too.
So what are you looking for the town to help out with?
But it'd be nice if you do something like the hall, there's people that play for free, put them out there and just something to draw people in.
Okay. And you mean with the community center, they'll come out and
On
set
the
up
porch
in
and stuff like that. We've always furnished the bouncy house and all that, but our budget is sort of tight this year.
Alright.
So if you don't mind me asking a question, clarity, are you saying like the town offer that out free of charge so that a band that the blowout committee wants to bring?
No, we won't have nothing to do with downtown here except for the goat roping that we're trying, and we don't even know if that's gonna happen this year.
Okay.
But we've always, like I said, we've always furnished the bouncy house for the kids and stuff.
Gotcha.
And that's the 11th and 12th?
Yeah. The 12th, basically, the 11th is just play days out at the arena.
So do you need the town to set signs for the closed streets? I could call over to Custer County unless.
He talked to
Jeff's.
they're all up here at the county deal. He just always told me he'll deal.
Alright.
But he's gotta know ahead of time so he can bring it up to the
Okay.
commissioners.
Sure, I'll call and take care of that. Alright. Any other public comments? Hey, Bruce?
Yeah, we're starting to have kind of a skunk issue in our neighborhood again, and I don't know if there's any way to address it, but.
We're technically, we're the vermin control officer, they could probably put our name on, our number on the billboard, plus
On the water bill thing?
we were shooting them and trapping them, but then somebody complained, so they had to, years ago, they put a thing in there that we're authorized to trap them and shoot them in town.
Okay.
Chris, you can come out my
Yeah,
place and
nuisance.
trap, shoot raccoons, skunks, all you want, cause we're about to set traps too and start
Yeah.
popping them too, cause they started coming in our area, we're catching them in the grain bins, it's not on my property, but they're in those bins.
Oh, I
I know I was gonna mention that tonight, 'cause it seems like they're getting, this is when they're gonna get real thick.
Yeah, you just let me know when you wanna come out there, we'll make sure our.
Well, there is a bunch of traps in there.
Don't you guys still have those live traps?
Really? Were you reimbursed by the town for that, or was that just something that you, offered up as?
We were doing it, and then someone, town was gonna film them each, trapping them and film them each, getting rid of them. And so
That's
There's
varmint,
some-
that's varmint control.
Yeah, that's varmints, exactly. I'm sorry, there's no cruelty there, it's health and safety.
So do you mind helping Bruce out then?
we should probably get some updated traps in. I got a few, they're not.
They're live traps.
About 4 years ago, I got 23 skunks out of about 3-block area up here by our place. And then the following year, I got 25 coons. So I haven't really noticed that problem coming back yet, but I'm sure it's gonna happen.
Do you have some live traps? So, sounds like we can work out with our neighbors on that one.
Maybe the city should put a bounty on them.
Well, that's what I was just asking, does anybody know if that $5 per tail bounty is still on for the state?
I don't know.
I think it's
That's a good idea.
Or was it 10? Is it still on? Does anybody know? Cause I know the Coons,
I know,
the
Eastern family does it all the time.
yeah, there's like the state used to have it, where they'll pay you for each tail.
I was inspired.
for not to mess with
Any
this
other
next day.
comments?
I threw a tarp over my live traps when I got a skunk in there. Well, most of the time it worked once I figured it out, but I got shot about 6 times that summer, and that wasn't fun. But what I ended up doing, I don't know, with my old pickup, it didn't have a catalytic converter. I'd set the traps close enough that I could get the pickup there, and I had 2 vacuum cleaner lines that I'd hook right on the exhaust, stick it under that tarp, and 15 minutes they were asleep.
I used to take them down the creek, tie a rope on the trap.
Well, you can do that.
It only takes about 5 minutes.
You're
to get
gonna
down.
get squirted along
Alright.
the way.
Any other comments? Okay. No comments? Good. I don't,
Say something about your parade.
My parade,
Yeah.
11 o'clock.
Yeah, but get people interested.
Oh, yeah,
Putting
so
shit
the
in.
parade for the blowout's gonna be 11 o'clock on the 12th.
Okay.
Let me know if you wanna be in it, cause I'll start the lineup, be there. I'd like to have people to start showing up around 10 o'clock over at the fire station.
Do we gotta dress goofy or anything? No, I'm just kidding.
Just as long as you have clothes on, you'll be in the parade.
don't they usually do a statewide, like rummage or garage, or this, a citywide rummage or garage sale that same weekend?
We usually have one here, yes.
Yeah,
Also citywide yard sale.
citywide garage
I don't think they did last year, but the year before.
If we did, not very many people participated.
sale. Alright, well, we'll put it out.
And there's also
Put it
free
in
vendor
the
space. So anybody that wants to do vending or do their yard sale on the main street here, welcome.
Alright? We'll put that out on the newsletter.
So 500.
Not for me, not that I can think of.
There's a limit.
Last weekend when I was
No, probably not.
So make a motion that we adjourn the meeting?
So move.
All in
Second.
favor?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
So on the free vendor, do they set appointments, or they just shows up?
Any, first come, first serve.
Cause there's a pizza place over I think it was
Yes, first come, first serve, anywhere up or down, what?
Exact same contract.
We have.
Essentially, we won't have to take
Yeah. They're, what you get back in your receipts from the publishing.
Oh, okay.
When you get, Southern Hills Publishing, when they send you the invoice, the affidavits, you receive invoices from them.
We'll have it there after we get
No,
done.
because I don't even have the.
Especially if Carrie's able to go, then I can see that.
That's what I was asking.